My name is Jeff Fernie, Dr. Jeff Fernie. I'm the Research Director at the Toronto Rehabilitation Institute. I'm also a professor in surgery and a professional engineer. And at Toronto Rehab, we pride ourselves in developing really innovative products to solve big problems that people face. So we started developing this, I think, 16, even 17 years ago. And although it looks like it's a simple product, it's actually quite sophisticated. We went through a lot of testing to get it right. Mechanical testing in the laboratory to make sure it lived up to its spec, to make sure it would really take the loads that we're talking about. Field testing to make sure over 2 or 3 winters outside it wouldn't rust, it would be solid and reliable. Testing to make sure the brakes worked effectively. Interestingly, the brakes are kind of neat. You want the brakes to come on firmly, but you don't want them to come on too suddenly and throw the person out. So there was quite a bit of effort went into that. It's had a lot of work go into it, and I think it came on the market about 14, 15 years ago. So it's got a strong pedigree. It's been in use in a lot of hospitals in North America and Europe, and in another version it's been in use in a lot of airports. As you know, one of the keys to using a wheelchair is if you don't understand it, there's a risk that they'll leave the brake off. And if you leave the brake off when someone stands up or sits down, it's a disaster. It just scoots away. And you have a fall. We have a lot of those falls, by the way, in hospitals. It's an automatic brake. So whenever it's stationary, the brake is on. Has nice, simple armrests that push up. So it's easy to get in and out of it. They have strength to them. You can put all your weight on here with confidence. You'll notice also that when the person is in the chair, the center of gravity of the person is pretty much over the back wheels. That's very special. We worked on that for a long time. That allows your caregiver, your family person, to push you actually with one hand and just turn you around, swivel you, go through doorways and things. Very special. I'm pretty proud of this product. It's been made well. So one of the things you must have noticed whenever you walk into a hospital particularly, or into an airport, any big facility, is you'll find a whole cluster of wheelchairs clogging the place up. By the way, usually they're missing bits. Leg rests have come off, arm rests have come off, all sorts of things. Nothing comes off Staxi, it's all fixed to it. But the important thing, and it's quite a complex bit of geometry, is when you put 2 Staxis together, they nest really efficiently. You'll see a row of wheels, almost like a centipede. They nest so there's 70% overlap. You'll see, that's quite difficult to do. You'll see sometimes shopping carts get close to that, but they always jam. And a lot of products only make it to about 30 or 40%. That nesting means that the lobby can be really neat and tidy, doesn't take up a lot of space. Everyone can appreciate that it's not an eyesore. We were anxious that we have a good, solid, stable product that everyone can use, but we also didn't want anyone to be at a disadvantage. And sometimes you do need a leg rest. So there is an adjustable leg rest for this chair. Sometimes you need an oxygen tank. There's an oxygen tank carrier. These various additionals, these various accessories have been very carefully put together. The difference between being independent and living is whether you can be independent in the bathroom. If you can't manage in the bathroom, then you're going to have to be in a care setting of some sort. Bathrooms are notoriously dangerous. Obviously, there are hazards because of wet, slippery floors. There are hazards because you're not wearing good outdoor footwear. Transferring in and out of bathtubs, in and out of showers, it can be a disaster. Often there's very little space also for someone to help you without injuring their back. So the whole concept of safe bathrooms is driving a lot of our work these days. Of course, a key to being able to live independently is that you've not only got to have a safe bathroom, but you've got to be able to get to and from it. And that means you've got to be able to get from your bed to the toilet and back to the bed, sometimes several times in the night. So the whole environment needs to be integrated to provide for that safe mobility. Oh, I think it was about 25 years ago that my team was the first team to build a commercially available vertical safety pole. But I've always wanted to do something extra special with it. I've always wanted to be able to come up with a kit that you could use multiple poles and join them together with horizontals so that when you go home from a hospital, for example me last week, you could quickly, without any screwdrivers, any drills or anything, you could install a pole by the bed, another one 6 feet away, join it with a horizontal, another one right around to the toilet. So the whole thing would sort of clip together. And then when your needs changed, you could re-clip it. It's really exciting stuff. I think it's going to be a staple for how we get people home early and keep them home safely by being able to get the kit, adapt it to wherever you need support or exercise. So you can walk up and down between parallel bars at home. Actually, if you want to put some at home, it's quite expensive and quite difficult because you've got to have a thick, heavy base so that the bars don't wobble. The neat thing with the kit system that we have is you can use the verticals between the floor and the ceiling to assemble some parallel bars with the horizontals there that are firm, that are rigid, so you can get up and have some real exercise. We're expecting to come up with a whole lot of interesting electronic training equipment and monitoring equipment in time, so this is the beginning of a system, but it's going to be a huge advantage for people who need to be able to walk safely and get moving again. So you can imagine that when we went through the design of this, there were some times when we tugged at our metaphorical beards, because if you were to put up poles around the house and join them with horizontals, it'd be great for the user, but the wife or the relative or the nurse might complain because they have to keep jumping over them or going underneath them. So we came up with the concept of the gate. So sections of pole 3 feet long actually hinge. Sections of the horizontal hinge so that you can release them easily, let them lower, walk through and raise it again. Seems pretty obvious with hindsight, but without it, it's not going to work very well for people. So one of the things we wanted to produce was kind of a Lego kit for going home. Something that you can snap together, change to meet needs. I think we've achieved that. I'm expecting it to be the sort of base where a whole load of different companies, as well as our own laboratories, will be adding other features in the future. We know we're going to be adding something so you can have a lift at home easily installed. We know we're going to have something so that you can monitor how well people are walking and can encourage them to walk better. We know we're going to be able to attach safety monitoring and physiologic monitoring equipment to this basic plastic brick kind of system that you clip together verticals and horizontals with gates or without gates. Exciting, isn't it? Big movement in Canada to try and make hospitals safer for older people. We think they're not safe, and a key element is to help them get up and get around. If you want to get out of bed in a hospital, there's nothing to hang on to. There's nothing to do it safely. There's the TV, there's various rolling stands and stuff to the side. So we now have Stand Easy, a really neat product. Unlike the typical pole that we use at home, that won't work in a hospital, because you can't wedge between the floor and the ceiling in a hospital, because a hospital has suspended ceilings and you just lift the ceiling. So here the solution was to put tracks along the wall. Neat little tracks actually with plastic covers, but you can then, when you need to help mobilize someone, you just go to the cupboard, get the OT to go to the cupboard, get out this unit, clip it to the track, and you've got a good solid pole to stand up, to transfer, to stand out of the bed, to get into a wheelchair, or just to stand pause, get your balance, let your blood pressure equalize, and walk away. Many years ago, I did some research with an occupational therapist looking at whether it was a good idea to color handrails, to color safety poles. So we've done something pretty neat here. We've now got a grip that actually is quite a subtle, it's not glaring at you, but it glows gently in the dark. So you can find your way around at night safely. I think it's pretty neat. There's something strange in the land about toilets. Toilets are very low to the ground. For years I thought, I had this theory that they were evolving from holes in the ground and they'd not reached high enough in evolution. But it's amazing how low they are, and it's amazing how much difficulty that causes people. Getting up from a low toilet is impossible. We're all used to those raised toilet seats that you put on. Pretty ugly, most of them. Some of them fairly dangerous because they don't lock on very well. All of them present a challenge because it's a smaller hole to pee down. You don't mind me saying that, do you? And all of them, when visitors come to the home, they don't know whether they should take them off and put them in the bathtub or sit on them or whatever. So we came up with Toilevator, which is one of those sort of real simple things. It's a plastic block, really, that fits under the toilet. It's easy to install. I've got it throughout the house here. We've got it at the cottage. Wherever you go, you don't notice it. Once it's installed, it's cleanable, it's there, the toilet's at the right height, and it just functions nicely. I'm a real fan of Toilevator. Once you've got a Toilevator, you'll always want it. I once remember a scene where an elderly relative of ours walked back into the living room and said, "Oh, what a lovely experience."
When patients are in hospital or in a rehab institution or in long-term care, frequently they end up stuck in bed a lot. And if they're not able to get out of bed independently, then they're dependent on waiting until somebody can come and help them to get up. The real driver behind this design was it was a clinical initiative. And when clinicians discovered that they could no longer use the old pressure fit transfer poles. And so they know that we have a history of designing physical assistive devices. They know that Jeff developed the original Stand Easy pole. So we had a good background to help them with this problem. And so they came to us and said, can you help us to come up with a practical solution for our environment? And that was really the driver of this. We went through a number of design iterations. Our design team came up with a few different options, ways of mounting the pole. And the feedback that we got from the clinicians and from the patients we tried with was that this seems to work the best. The way this pole's mounted is that we'll have 2 tracks on the wall. One up here, one down here. And the installation height's somewhat flexible depending on the features of the individual hospital room. Envision those tracks being installed in all the rooms where you might want to have this. So in a rehab facility or complex continuing care facility, that's probably most of the rooms. One of the things you'll notice about this pole is that it's quite visible. It's yellow. The idea is that people's gaze is drawn to, bright features in the environment. Yellow is a color that will draw people's eye. So if you're not thinking, I need to use a transfer pole to get up, you're thinking, I need to get up. The yellow will help to remind you that the transfer pole is the safe way of assisting you to get up. Now at night, you can't see that. The lights are out. But a very special feature of this pole is that it glows in the dark. So we have glow-in-the-dark material in all these plastic grips. So when you wake up in the middle of the night and realize that you need to get up and go to the washroom really quickly, and all you're thinking is, I need to get up and go to the washroom, you will see the glowing pole, and it will remind you that you can grab onto this and it will help you to stand up to go. Specific features of this pole, which are different and which we're pretty proud of in the design, include the grip section. This is a really nice, easy to grip section. What we have is it's ABS plastic running the whole length of the pole in this ridged grip. So it's easy to put my fingers in between the parts of the grip, and that helps me to get a good grip on it, a secure grip on it, without a lot of hand strength. The ABS plastic and the way this is fitted means that it is very easy to clean and sanitize. Infection control, a huge issue in hospitals. Certainly other clinicians within Toronto Rehab are very excited about having this on their floors. They think it'll be a great boost to patient independence.